All right, so I'm really trying to understand the situation that's currently been on the news for the past 2 weeks. As you all know, Charlie Kirk got assassinated while he was speaking on a college campus in Utah. But at the same time, another assassination happened beforehand with Donald Trump. But yet, that's not being talked about as much because of the unsuccessful assassination attempt. But with Charlie Kirk, he was killed on sight. He got sniped in the neck with a sniper round, and it was blood just gushing out, pretty much just seeping out of his neck. And then at the same time, when the Trump situation happened, it made news headlines for an entire week, but then nobody else talked about it. So let's see what these guys have to say about this video here, and see what evidence do they have against the guy who's been accused of the crime himself, Tyler Robinson. Now, mind you, he's the age of, from what they're telling me, he's 22 years old. But at the same time, the dude do not look like he's 22 years old. He looked like a middle-aged Caucasian male with a family. But then at the same time, they did say that his dad told him to turn himself in. So let's look at this video.
Immense amount of detail regarding the shooting. A lot of
I want to see the evidence though. Like, don't charge no one with a crime if you don't have enough evidence to prove that they actually committed the crime itself. Probable cause is a low burden of proof, and it's sad how the American legal system is today. But it's unfortunate at the same time because they prioritize numbers, quotas, getting arrests versus that of actual solving legitimate crimes and finding the person responsible.
A staggering amount, not only DNA on the weapon, on the trigger, on the towel that was wrapped around the weapon, but on the cartridges that weren't fired, as well as these text message exchanges with his romantic partner.
They got a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we have a number of people here to help us walk through all of it. David Chalian, Laura Coates. We have Andrew McCabe and Tim Weininger with us as well. Andy, to you first, let's talk about the DNA.
Aggravated murder.
Because
obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
The weapon, and it seems pretty clear that this is something that is, I don't know if it's.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by
damn ass.
Meet Base 44.
Passed down through the family by the text messages or what you have in this charging document. But it seems very likely it's been identified by the father, by one of the parents here. And talk to us about the DNA on all of these different items that authorities say have been.
Now I'm gonna tell you now. I mean, just speaking from what I've seen with recent cases, even though there may be evidence, just having DNA evidence about with his hands on the weapon and whatnot, and the bullets and things like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that he committed the crime himself. Somebody else could have stole his weapon, and they had gloves on for which they didn't get their fingerprints on that weapon itself because they had gloves on. So it don't have to. It's not just. It could be his fingerprint, but it does not mean that he pulled a trigger. That's what I'm saying.
Linked to the shooter, the alleged shooter here.
Yeah, the DNA evidence is devastating. We knew prior
devastating.
to the
Okay, yeah.
that DNA had been recovered on a screwdriver found with the rifle, and also on the towel that the rifle was wrapped in, and that was pretty good. But boy, what they have is absolutely devastating. They have the defendant's DNA on the trigger. They have it on other places on the rifle. They have it on the fired shell casing. So that's the brass casing that's still in the rifle when they recovered it. They have it on 2 of the unfired casings, which is, that's from his handling of.
That still doesn't mean that he actually pulled the trigger. If it's his weapon, he owned it. Someone else could have stolen it.
Put all the notoriety and the people and the politics aside, this is a relatively simple case. You're talking about
simple case
in plain sight.
You mean simple as far as getting a conviction or what?
That was the gun that killed Charlie Kirk, and this is the person that pulled the trigger. And between the video capture that has him essentially fleeing the place where the shot was taken from, his DNA all over the rifle, and then his statements. The statements to the roommate basically create lay out the entire crime, from his execution of it on the 10th to his efforts to try to recover the rifle in the aftermath of the shooting, and to finally his direction to his roommate to delete all the texts, which apparently he didn't follow, and also not speak to the police, which those added additional charges onto this information in the form of obstruction of justice. So very, very strong case. In a normal circumstance, there is no chance that this case would ever go to trial. It would be pled out. That's my opinion. But here, because of the notoriety of this case, the people involved, the politics, pretty clear that the state is pursuing the death penalty. So they may just be compelled to go to trial, no matter whether or not the defendant even seeks some sort of a negotiated plea.
Laura, I'm curious to get your perspective on that, but I just want to note for our viewers, one of the text messages that stands out that implies...
Like, I can't even, like, see whether or not if it's actually him in this video. You can't make out who is doing what. But yet, they're trying to use this as evidence against him in court to say that he's liable for the crime itself. Like I said before, somebody, like, say I own a weapon, right? I own a weapon, and a roommate of mine knows where my weapon is located. He see that I always touch it. I go to the range quite often. Go to the range. I let off a few rounds or whatnot. I go get target practice in. I always put my hands on it because it's my weapon. I'm legally able to have a weapon by the Second Amendment, right? So I can own a weapon. So I have my handprints all over it. Fingerprints, whatever it is. My roommate know that. So he go steal my gun and he go commit a murder. But when he grabbed my gun, he made sure he has gloves on because he know that since it's my weapon, my fingerprints are all over the weapon itself. So my fingerprints alone, because of the fact that he has gloves on and he touch it, they do not disappear. They stay on the weapon until they're wiped off or cleaned off completely. So obviously, with my roommate grabbing my weapon with my fingerprints on it, and he go commit a murder, and then they go recover the weapon. They have my fingerprints and everything is on it. They're gonna automatically feel like I'm gonna be the prime suspect, even though I don't know what the hell happened. So that's what I'm trying to say for this situation here. Someone could have stole his weapon if it was the actual weapon that was used to commit the crime, the murder, and they could have framed him as if he was the perpetrator, is what the police say, in this situation at hand, to get him charged and found liable for the crime so they can walk away scot-free from it. So that's what they need to do. They need to do a more of an in-depth investigation and find out who's actually responsible for the crime itself, and to make sure they're not putting an innocent person in jail for the rest of their life. And also, with them also trying to seek the death penalty too, that's worse. They need to do more research. They need to do more investigation, right? Because that's not appropriate at all. And I don't think it's enough, in my opinion, as far as DNA evidence, because if it's his weapon, obviously his DNA going to be all over it because he's legally able to have those weapons. I don't know, it's just me. Let me know if it don't make sense, because it makes sense to me. You can't make out who's in this video. I don't even know who. That could be a girl.
I mean, the methodical approach by this prosecuting team, which includes some of the best in Utah, to describe.
Is that a girl or a guy? You don't know. They're like a teenager.
The execution and the capture. His own mother recognized him based on the videos that was put out. She told her husband, who also doubted their son enough to say, "Send me a photo of the rifle." That was a really important moment there to show you about the credibility aspect for any so-called trier of fact, whether it be a jury or otherwise. His parents doubted that this was not him. And then people often talk about hearsay, this idea that hearsay can't come in. Well, you know what's not hearsay? A defendant's own statements. Why? Because the premise of hearsay is that you're not able to test or confront your accuser and test the credibility of a statement. But if it's your own statement, that can come in. And so everything we saw here from these text messages that more than implicate him, that
I hate when people think they know too much,
that describe and even reference the gun, talking about the grandpa's gun done just fine today, talking about the bullets as memes and what was written on them. The idea of saying what he had done, all of these things could come in, even if he's not saying to the officers, I did it, handcuff me, take me away right now, it all comes in. That's all important for them to lay out even so, because
That's
in
one.
this country,
That's one thing about a case in general, right? Like whenever they go to trial with a case, they want to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the burden of proof, which is the highest level of the highest burden of proof that you can actually achieve, which is like 95% chance that that person that's being charged with the crime actually committed the crime. Now, the thing is, the state don't want to take out all their money and resources into investigating a crime like this unless they can actually get a conviction. If they can't get a conviction, not only does it look bad on the state and the prosecution team, but also it does not reflect well as far as the budgeting wise for the investigation that they use to all the hours they put in, pretty much all the research that's been conducted, and all the, the resources with the police departments that have been used to conduct their investigation. So with all that to say is, if they don't get a conviction, they suck. So my thing is, if you don't have enough, don't go forward with the case. DNA evidence is not enough, in my opinion. And also this video surveillance, whatever this is, it doesn't show him. It doesn't show that he actually shot someone. It doesn't show like the transaction of the round and the rifle being fired. And then it shows Kirk being killed instantly. I seen the video of the assassination, right? On another website, not on YouTube. But at the same time, it doesn't show who did what. This is all speculation, in my opinion.
As the prosecutor noted, we do not have the absence of due process. They still have to meet their burden. And he said it's welcome, it's their honor to do so, but they have to lay out every single stage of this. And on the idea of the mother and the father, and
it's just crazy how
I hear
the way she sound and the way she's speaking and everything like that. She just
for any jury,
her whole entire personality is pretty much switched up for the television.
One thing that was really important here is we've heard a lot contextually about the roommate, a relationship. We've heard conversations about what his motive may have been, but the prosecutor doesn't have to prove a motive. They have to prove what Andy laid out, that this was the person who committed this crime. But I want to note one more thing, and that is the aggravated murder.
They do have to prove a motive.
The aggravated murder
it's a murder.
Comes from who was also present in the area. You heard him go to great lengths to describe the format that Charlie Kirk's used, the accessibility, the prove me wrong tour sort of phenomenon of somebody in front of him asking a question, children nearby. He described the trajectory of the bullet that passed by even the person who asked Charlie Kirk the last question he heard and he responded to. Children being nearby. These are sort of the aggravated circumstances that appeal and apply to being able to say this goes from just even the horrific charge of murder to showing who else was also vulnerable, even if those people were not struck.
Yeah, clearly at risk, and they really spelled that out. I wonder what you thought, David.
I could see judgment all over their faces. Like they're gonna judge somebody in a position in a situation like this. I'm not defending the defendant, but also what I'm saying is, you can't judge someone for what they're being charged with and saying that they're automatically guilty for it, unless it's proven in court and they can establish beyond a reasonable doubt, point A to point Z, that this person actually committed this crime. But I can tell based on how these people are talking and the way they're conducting themselves in this press conference, whatever this is, live television, on the news or something like that, they're already imitating that this guy is already guilty. And that's not cool, because if you were in that position, by all means, you would not want to be held to that same type of liability as someone being proven, trying to say they're guilty of something they have not been proven guilty of. So they need to refrain from making those type of statements in the way they're speaking about this case in particular, because they don't have that experience and that knowledge to be able to lay out the foundation on whether or not this guy is actually guilty based on all the evidence presented and what the prosecution have on their side against the defense. So I hate people that are completely judgmental, and because they never experienced it. They're gonna always have some type of sympathy for the person that's considered the victim.
There was a lot of discipline in this delivery. And we have not seen that uniformly, I think you would say. And the county attorney, Jeff Gray, was asked, essentially, the FBI saying so much, has that hampered the investigation? And he left it pretty limited in his response, but I thought it was telling, where he basically said, as attorneys, we typically like to control that information to preserve.
Yeah, why he got my glasses on? Those are my glasses. He need to take them shits off like right now. Those are my glasses. Why he wearing my glasses?
He was also asked about his communication with the Trump administration the Cox administration in Utah. He said he felt no undue pressure.
I don't want. I want to do something, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
File these charges.
But his chin is touching his tie.
Of how the Cox
That's ridiculous.
And the Trump administration and the governor and the president felt about.
How is that possible? How your chin touch your tie?
To see that play out in public over these last many days.
Political director.
He said that did not influence him. I thought that was interesting to hear that there had been, of course, communication with both.
Are those finger waves?
And the Cox administration.
Tim, to you, when the county attorney was asked about any sort of track record of online radicalization for the suspect, he said that he was not aware of any information related to that. I'm curious to get your thoughts when you heard that.
Yeah, and first of all, thanks for having me. If the government, the prosecutor not being aware of any evidence of radicalization is, I think, interesting because the bullet casings.
Man, they have to prove a lot more than this. That's all I have to say. It has to be a lot more evidence than what has been shown to the public. Obviously, with that being said, they may have something in the back, right? Because they're not going to show everything out. But at the same time, from what I've seen so far, it's not enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this guy committed this crime. I don't care about the DNA evidence. I don't care about none of that. Because we don't know if that's a female or a male that's fired that shot. We don't know how the shot took place. We don't even know if that person in the video actually fired the shot. I don't see the weapon in his or her hand in the picture. Is the weapon in the backpack? We don't know. Like, what the hell is this? Like, what type of case is this? They need to show a lot more than this if they want to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this guy committed this crime.
Speak directly from the internet. What I was pretty clear here, I thought was abundantly obvious, was that this person was radicalized from the internet, from the deep, dark places of the internet. And I worry what comes next. So if you think about one side and the hatred that they're feeling against the other side, and now coming out and saying that, well, yeah, this person had this political belief and they were worried about how they were going to respond. Now I'm worried about the other side coming out and saying, well, they got one of us, and now we have to retaliate. And the conversation happening right now in the online spaces.
All right, man, we're going to stop here. So look at this. Look at the charges. Look at the charges in this indictment. Aggravated murder, 1 count. Felony discharge of a weapon, 1 count. 2 counts of obstruction of justice. That's because of the deleted text messages and also the conversation had with the roommate, right? 2 counts of witness tampering. 1 count of a commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child, because apparently there are kids in this area, at this conference, at this meeting, at this whatever debate, right? But what I'm trying to understand is this. This guy here, you look old as hell to be 22 for one. Like 35 at least. At least 35. But they're saying he's 22, right? So he's 22. All right, whatever. But my thing is this, man. Like, no one should be killed because of what they feel. I mean, your First Amendment right gives you the opportunity to speak freely about whatever you want to talk about, right? Unless you're in an official capacity of like serving the military and politician and things like that. Because everything that you say at that point, military, politician, will be used against you, to where you can get fired, you can not be reelected, so on and so forth. So on and so forth, right? But in this situation here, you're telling me someone was gunned down because of their personal views and political views about something? Like, you had to be so so angry with this person about how you felt about the things that they say that you had to go kill them. That's not reasonable at any stage in life. Like, no one should die by exercising their First Amendment right. So that's what I'm not understanding with this situation at hand. But then also, they're saying this guy committed a crime, and we don't know actually who did what. They're going based off solely off the DNA evidence and that surveillance video, which doesn't show much because it doesn't show the person's face. It doesn't show the weapon that was used. They're going based off DNA that was recovered from the weapon itself, but we don't know who fired the weapon. That's where I'm coming from with the situation, and that's what the prosecution and the defense need to. That's what the defense need to argue against, and that's what the prosecution is failing to show the public regarding the situation of how much evidence they have and how it all links back to this guy here, this 35, 22-year-old. So I don't know. You all let me know what the hell you think about this situation, because in my opinion, this case should not even go to trial. He should be acquitted unless they have a lot more information and evidence against him that shows that he was the shooter. If not, close this damn case today, because you're wasting people's time and money and effort. Go find the actual perpetrator, if there is a perpetrator. Could be a male or a female. I don't know. I'm just going based on the interpretation of the video and whatever so-called evidence they showed thus far in this case. That's pretty much it. Right? So it's crazy as hell, man. But look, the American legal system is already corrupt enough. And this here just intensify that based on the fact that they're trying to, and they already indicted this guy on all these charges, and they're trying to accuse him of this crime that we don't know who actually committed what. Beyond absurd. Man, I tell you, bro.